Now, Dr Heena Akbar has been part of PWA for many years, working on her research project, and just recently got graduated with her PhD, and so it's with great honour. Please make welcome Dr Heena Akbar.
I'd like to, before I just start, to acknowledge Auntie Margaret for the welcome to the country, but also an acknowledgement and paying our respect to the traditional owners of the land, past, present and emerging. I also would like to acknowledge the Pasifika people back at home, the homelands, as well as those living here and as well as in overseas. I'm just going to adjust this, so excuse me. Well, warm Pasifika greetings to everyone, all the beautiful ladies and gentlemen. And today I will talk about our work that we have done with the Pacific Diabetes Project and things that we have researched over the past 5 years, and currently we are in the midst of developing our Pasifika Women's Wellness Program. So I'll try to keep it brief, but I actually have presented over the past few years, but today it will be really good for me to highlight some of the things that we've found and some of our main achievements that we have achieved through this over the last 5 years. So it's not particularly focused just on the research itself. So my PhD research was in partnership with Pasifika Women's Alliances and many of our Pasifika women with type 2 diabetes living here in Queensland. So I do like to acknowledge our Pasifika Women's Alliances sisters and many of our women who've actually not only shared their vision, their wisdom and insights into diabetes, but they've guided a very culturally responsive pathways to academia and community collaboration, which is really very important for us at this stage. Why we focus specifically on women, and although this issue is a concern for the whole community and for our whole family, simply because we believe that women provides a great opportunity for us to change healthy behaviors within our family and community, and also creating that pathways for long-term effect change, not just here but back home. So one of the things that I wanted to show you is that over these few years we have developed some digital stories with some of our community members who've around documenting their life experiences and their lived experiences with type 2 diabetes. So I'd like to show you a video of Auntie Violet, who shares her experience living with type 2 diabetes, before I move on to the next.
What the cause of it? I guess I was in denial for a long time. I only found out that I had diabetes because sores on my leg from mosquito bites didn't heal. They found out that it was extremely high for a long time. It had done damage to my liver and also to my eyesight. I got my gallbladder removed because that was affected. It's all the internal organs that it affects. I sort of just buried it under the sand. Didn't really want to take action. It's almost like I was paralyzed. And then I got angry, and then I started fighting back. It went from 29 and now it's manageable. I think really what changed my outlook was a very motivating factor is why. I wanted to be around for my grandchildren that are yet to be born. My daughter, no pressure. But it's just the quality of life too. I don't want to live a life in illness. Nobody needs this. But we have that choice. And so I had a choice that I had to, almost like a wake-up call. For us Fijians, we are in some ways very religious, and because our body is the temple of the Holy Spirit. What we think goes hand in hand, because in the Bible it says every leafy, green thing, every fruit is good for you. But it's still a journey. I have to be very watchful on what I eat, and knowing how much carbohydrates, because we love our tapioca and rice. what I found is if you just incorporate it slowly, then it, you don't have to do all of these things all at one time. But it's really important that they just start. Just start. They say the hand that rocks the cradle rules the world, and it's in our families. We set the tone for our children and for our husbands because we want them to live longer and have a life that's healthy and wholesome. The doctor from Bond University, he was my doctor, and he was really instrumental in keeping me accountable. I know in our culture, food is a big thing, but for me, this is my own journey. If we can't be truthful and honest with ourselves, how can we respect and honor others? We do have a culture of respect, but if they know that you're doing this for you, they will look more favorably on you because you stood up for you. We can't blame our culture because really when it all comes down, we as individuals have to choose for ourselves. It's never too late to change.
Thank you, Dr. Akbar, for sharing this with us, and she's sitting here with us as well, and one of our Pasifika Womens Alliance members. So, we already know that our people in Australia and at home are facing a heavy burden of type 2 diabetes and chronic conditions. And statistically, 8 out of 10 Pacific Island nations are amongst the 10 top countries in the world with the highest prevalence of diabetes. And to name some, Tokelau, Nauru, Cook Islands, French Polynesia, Kiribati, there are about 30 to 40% of the prevalence burden that we are facing back home. We also within the Western region are one of the fastest growing rates with type 2 diabetes, let alone other chronic conditions. So we know these are all attributed to lifestyle and the choices and changes that we have made over several generations. So you can only imagine how this is impacting us here in Australia. At the moment, we are aware that we are about 4 to 9 times more likely to be, dying from preventable diabetes-related conditions. Our women are also about 3 to 4 times more at risk of having diabetes than the normal Australian or mainstream women. So, this is quite large. And at present, under the National Diabetes Services Scheme, which some of you may or may not have heard, there's only 4,000 Pacific Islanders are registered in Queensland. But mind you, that is reflected. What this tells us is that we can confidently say that this figure is far much more higher in the communities and within Queensland. I'm not talking about other states because there also is quite a large Pacific Island population. So we are vulnerable in some ways and obviously face a far more poorer health status. So, and for us, this is a concern, not just for us, but also for our family, but looking at the future, the next generation. We need to think now to see how we can actually make an impact or make a shift in what we're doing and how, we don't always want to be statistics, like as in a lot of First Nations communities around the world you hear often. And we, for our people and us ourselves, need to take that responsibility. So to improve the health of our people and to learn how to better prevent the future generations from experiencing these conditions, we worked, this PhD research, we worked very collaboratively and very closely with Pasifika Womens Alliances and the PI Women, and mind you, many of the key stakeholders, such as the Queensland Government, the Good Start Program, Uniting Care, Queensland University of Technology, Diabetes Queensland, and many other community groups and community organisations. So for us, as we're living in Queensland, it's very important that we have that partnership and that collaboration. And it was really in essence so that we can promote awareness around diabetes, its prevention and its management within our communities. We also used community strategies that involved our women to look at prevention and management of these conditions, and as you've seen as one example from Auntie Vai's stories about how we need to reflect and how we need to make that change. So involving our women is very important in that process. And, you know, this research, I guess our research, I'm saying ours because I know I've done the PhD academia side of it, but this is really a very community effort, you know, and a group of women that we've all worked together because we want to see changes in some ways because it has affected us or does affect us at a personal or at a family context. You know, I come from a family where both from my mum and my dad's side are affected by type 2 diabetes. I've lost a grandmother at the age of 50 from type 2 diabetes related conditions. So, you know, it's something you hear every day, and it's for that personal reason why I actually started this journey. So for us, this research was built on core principles underlying our family and community values, and including ethics to conduct these research in the community. We used participatory approaches to engage our women so that they can take ownership in developing the project. You know, so anything we do within our community context, it's very important that ownership and knowing why we're doing this. So when I say participatory, I mean that the diabetes research was developed and driven by our women, by Pasifika Women and our Pasifika Womens Alliances. Here, the women worked closely with all the key stakeholders to make some changes within the community. And this is important. Why? Because collecting and providing evidence-based information through research with our community can only inform our government, our policy makers, our health service providers, the importance of health within our community, the importance of our well-being within our community, and also to educate our communities to eventually see those long-term changes. We want to see that because it's really important for us. So in doing this, in making and ensuring that we conduct this research in a very culturally safe manner, our project and our research was done in a Pasifika way, so which all you may have heard, Talanoa, and simply using Talanoa or a conversational style that was our way, meant that we were able to build connections with our women and with the people in the community. And this was essential simply so that our women owned the process of collecting the information that they wanted, and it was meaningful to them. It's also about acknowledging our ancestors, our cultures, where we come from, and giving that respect to our people. You know, trust, reciprocity, spirituality, nurturing, these are all part of our collective culture. And embracing this in the research process is our imperative. It's important in working towards so that we are actually respectful with our Pacific Island peoples. And also important in our understanding of health and well-being. So what did we really do in the community? You know, we've got many of our women sitting here who actually have contributed to this process over the last 5 years of our research, and it's still going. We looked at ways how our women deal with type 2 diabetes, how they manage this at home, how it affects them and their family, who supports them, or the support they get. Do they get it from the family network, or from the health service providers, or from the church, or for the community networks? And many, how are they able to cope with living with diabetes? So these are many more little factors that we looked into that were important for the overall health and well-being of our women. So just to highlight some of the key things that we did find through this research over the years were, we found that our community needs more awareness around diabetes, you know, prevention and management. Why? You know, we know that once you have developed a chronic condition like diabetes, such as cancer or cardiovascular disease, it requires lifelong management to live a healthy and maintain a quality life. So our communities need to understand the importance of visiting health professionals, health providers, visiting your doctors regularly in order to have health checks, ongoing screening, and also ongoing maintenance of your health. We also found that our communities are reluctant to visit doctors and GPs, and many times they leave it right to the end when it's too late. You end up at the emergency hospitals because of some complications, kidney failure, or loss of eyesight. So these are really important contexts. Very individual based. It's very individual context. So for us, in our communities and with our families, it's very collective. Our family and our communities are important. And for women with diabetes, things like their roles and responsibilities in the family are important, and they also, I guess in some ways, influence what they do about their health, how they manage and how they prevent. And these are all important. And perhaps the other thing that I know that what we found over the years was, and as you can see, we embrace religion and spirituality. It's one of our fundamental pillars of our well-being and our holistic way of living. And religion plays a very huge part on how we view our health and wellness. It also is something that even within diabetes or with an illness is how we perceive and how we manage ourselves. So for us, God plays an important essence in coping with our well-being, with our diabetes, and also as a form of support for our wellness. So, having faith allowed many of our women to actually cope and manage better with diabetes. And also the other things that we learned was related to not wanting to talk about diabetes openly in the community. I guess there's a lot of stigma related to, maybe not as much as around cancer or heart, but when it comes to diabetes, there's a very strong stigma related around that, and so denial, not wanting to accept or even not saying it to people is a huge fundamental issue in our community. And I guess this research was one way in engaging the community, and the women and the members were a way of opening that dialogue and destigmatizing that diabetes is really not an illness, it's a condition. It's about how do we get past, how do we teach our children about, if you have developed it, what are the better ways of actually getting past and still living well. So that was one of the key issues that we did find. And also, several healthy behaviors in relation to managing, like, taking your medications, visiting your doctors, eating healthy, or making the right healthy choices, making an effort to go and do a walk or exercise, checking your blood tests regularly. These were all behaviors that were influenced not just by stigma and the denial and the attitudes in the community were very influential. So when I mean by cheaper choice for family meals is something we tend to have to do. So these are simple attitudes that are influencing the way we do things, and I guess it's something that we've also learned to do it in the islands, and something that we have passed on in generations with our children. So these simple things were things that we have looked at, and we know that it actually has some very significant impact, but also it teaches us that we can actually change and mold that. If you look at when you look at religion, when you believe in God, and that we were sent here for a purpose, we were meant to keep and maintain a healthy, be well, but there's a reason for that. So, in embedding that and saying that, having a positive attitude towards, I've got to live long for my children, I've got to teach my kids, the quality of life, because we're leaving that for the future generations, and we're teaching those simple lessons and simple messages is key to the way we need to think forward. It's not just what's convenient and what's available. So these were just some of the highlights of a few findings we got through working together as a group. What I wanted to finish off with was just some of the key outcomes that we as a group had achieved. And I guess one of the key highlights for us through this project was building strong partnership. One of the challenges for us is how do we engage mainstream providers, Queensland government, policymakers, community groups, and so this multicultural day was a good example of seeing a lot of, not just community groups, but a lot of key service providers, like Vicky Rose came and presented a bit. So these partnerships and engagement and their work is significant and is very important for us and is very valuable as a community. We need this network and we need this support for each other. See, PWA is a community-based organization with its vision and intent for Pasifika people in Queensland were pivotal also in creating a safe space for our women to engage in this research process. And this is also an example of creating a community, cultural safe space for us to be comfortable with and to dialogue and to engage with each other. So, you know, one of the achievements we have, a few of the achievements over this were that we were able to lead 3 very significant community summits, Pasifika Diabetes Health Forum, 2013 and 14, and one in 2016. And these Diabetes Health Forum were provided a cultural safe community space to run diabetes education, health screening, and conduct paranoia discussions to collect information. So, you know, these initiatives are not uncommon. They have been used worldwide amongst First Nation and Indigenous peoples around the world and hasn't been notably successful. So, simply because it is driven by the people and for the people using their cultural frameworks and using their cultural model. So, you know, we have been instrumental in building individual as well as organizational capacity for our women to address health in our community. And, you know, and so these are what this means is that we are a pool of very resourceful Pasifika women living our agenda to address these issues, as well as to look at our well-being, our health in the community. So, you know, building on the Pasifika Womens Alliance's strategic intent on healthy and stronger families, we hope to continue to develop, provide programs, and do community educations, health screening, advocate for research, meaningful collaborations, you know, looking at how we improve health, and with both mainstream community organizations and academia. We eventually would like to link and partner with Pacific Island nations back home so that we can contribute towards helping our women and our people in Fiji or Samoa or Solomons, or, you know, that's the network that reaches further back, because we all do go home to have that, and we need that reach as well. And this ensures continuity, this ensures sustainability for a long term, so we can translate, we can transfer, and we can look at something positive at the end. So to finish off with that, this is pretty much, I can just, on a personal note, just describe 3 words of what my journey was like. Firstly, it was inspiring. Why? Because the women I worked with and who has continued to be by my side on this ongoing journey is making some real changes for our families and community. It has been humbling, because I've learned so many things in this past few years that has contributed to my personal, my social, and my academic growth, and I hope to continue in that pathway. And finally, blessed with the support of my family, who constantly has reminded me of the values of community, religion, compassion, friendship, caring, and humility. Thank you.